The same thing occurs with the fruit vendors. Fruits again exposed to the external heat. They too would undergo the same changes and therefore affect our health sector in terms of increasing food poisoning. But what is even more important is as you drive about, you see a lot of car garages, mechanic shops through all different communities, housing communities, great subdivisions, a mechanic shop open immediately next door to you. And you can imagine, you have developed and built your dream home, and then all of a sudden next to you, somebody's fixing cars or fixing motorbikes or whatever. Imagine what that does to your home, cause the property value to decrease. But not only that, a lot of the homes still tap well water. And the gas or the oil leakage from these mechanic shops or these garages get into our water system, and as a result, that in itself causes some degree of toxicity and can be harmful to individuals. Mr. Speaker, those are very important, and therefore it's essential to have a bill like this that would help to regulate those entities so as to improve the quality of life, improve our health status, decrease the stress level that we may encounter, be it by street vendors immediately in front of our house or some car garage immediately adjoining our house. It would improve enforcement and regulation of the law, and it will definitely improve security and bring some degree of organization to our society. Mr. Speaker, what this bill also does, it improves our tourist product and creates employment. It creates employment and also improves revenue for all those particular vendors. Mr. Speaker, when you review the bill itself, individuals, small business that generates less than $50,000 per annum would only pay about $100 per annum as for a business license. And at the same time, unlike the more advanced or the larger businesses that has a larger gross revenue, unlike those large businesses, the small businesses are not required to keep audited statements or audited records and other statements and records. But Mr. Speaker, this in itself can impose great cost to small businesses were they forced to keep these records and audited statements. But they are exempted from that, Mr. Speaker, as pointed out in Section 9, subsection 3 of this bill. So what it really does is gives individuals the opportunity to become a part of the formalized business sector. But Mr. Speaker, this bill involves the enactment of the Town Planning Act, in that the application for business license the application itself refers to town planning. You must complete the sector of zoning so that one would know that where you are placing such a business, it had been zoned appropriately for such a business. That is a problem, especially that we find in Killarney, where next to homes, individuals start clubs or restaurants with loud music, and that poses great problems, especially in the Killarney area, Mr. Speaker. Then, with the town planning, even in terms of rezoning, an area may have been zoned strictly residential, but for rezoning, there's a section on the application where that must be approved and at least shown evidence that it had been rezoned through town planning. And in the Town Planning Act, for rezoning, it involves the community, which means that the community must have some say in the rezoning. So the community has a say of some restaurant being placed immediately next to them. The community has a say as to some garage being placed next to them. So all of this, the bill brings complete organization to our society, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, in a follow-up to the Killarney survey, what we also discovered, we did a survey and asked Killarney residents what they found to be the most important problem that they face today in Killarney. And I was surprised, because I expected and anticipated that unemployment, the problems that we face today, unemployment would have been the number one issue. But no, Mr. Speaker, the number one issue through our survey was noise pollution. The number one issue was environmental, noise pollution and other environmental factors. And then we had a very interesting survey that was recently done by Mr. Aaron Knowles, Mr. Speaker, where we looked at 60 street vendors. Those street vendors were interviewed. And those street vendors were asked the question, how do they feel being involved or being moved into a formalized business society where they would be licensed and given some form of badge to sell their product in this particular area or the next area. 60 street vendors were interviewed, Mr. Speaker, and of that 60, 55 or 91.6% felt that they preferred to be licensed so that they can sell their product without any fear of harassment from the law enforcement agency or any fear of harassment from individuals. But what was also most important in that interview, in that survey, what was also very important is that those individuals felt that if they were licensed to sell their product on a certain street, a certain block or whatever, they felt that it would cut out or it would decrease the amount of what they term illegal immigrants who were also involved in the same business, because the illegal immigrant would not be able to be licensed, and therefore that in itself would increase the opportunity for them, and that itself would increase the revenue generated for them, and that itself would also remove the illegal involvement of individuals in this particular market. So, Mr. Speaker, this bill has great advantages in that it brings our vendors into a formalized society, and the problems that we see today on the streets, we would be able to put it in a more formal, organized fashion. But, Mr. Speaker, can you imagine if we had not necessarily blocks assigned for vendors, not necessarily specific streets assigned for vendors, but imagine if we had a particular area or location that was formalized for vendors. Imagine if this area was large enough so that it can be properly paved, so that you can introduce proper tiles with the proper slope or concavity or vexity, so that the trash or the drainage can run into a well or drain system. Just imagine if we had such an open space that was properly prepared with the drainage system, etc. Mr. Speaker, we would be able to license our vendors properly and assign specific days for specific vendors. We have the problems on the street with the fish vendors who are selling, and if you pass any time, you would see the fish vendor selling his fish in the hot sun, the amount of flies, the vendor's assistant standing up at some branch, swapping or brushing the flies away, trying to keep the flies away from the fish. That is what we have today. But imagine if you had such a location with the proper drainage system, so that on Mondays, if the nation knows that Mondays is what we call seafood day, which means that vendors who are licensed, they can go and display their sea product in proper carts that are refrigerated carts or ice carts. Therefore, on Mondays, all seafood vendors can go to this location. But the carts are mobile carts. They're carts that can be inspected to ensure that they meet all the safety and health regulations. They're not stationary carts where individuals build and then with time try to say, this is their space, squatters' right, they can't move. No, Mr. Speaker. What happened is they're mobile carts which can go there on Monday, and therefore Monday being seafood day. So they can display their fish under proper condition. They can display their lobster, their stone crab, shrimp, and others. All the various different fish, be it snapper, red snapper, yellowtail, lion fish, etc., Mr. Speaker, in a safe fashion. So, as they are